My name is Alina Moore, and the night everything cracked open, I was still at my desk long after the office lights on my floor had gone dark. It was 11:47 p.m., according to the corner of my laptop screen. My inbox was quiet for the first time all day, but my head wouldn't shut up. The air conditioning hummed softly, fighting a losing battle against the stale warmth of a space that had been lived in for too many hours. My heels were kicked off under the desk, my feet aching in that dull, numbing way that comes from standing strong longer than your body wants to. I told myself this grind was temporary, that once things stabilized, once Mom didn't need help every other month, once my younger brother finished school, once the family business stopped wobbling, I'd slow down. Rest. Breathe. Be normal. But temporary had stretched into years. I leaned back in my chair and rubbed my temples, staring at a half-empty coffee cup I didn't remember refilling. Outside the window, the city blinked back at me, indifferent. People were asleep. Or laughing. Or on vacation. Not me. My phone buzzed softly beside my keyboard. I ignored it at first. Everyone who mattered knew I worked late. That I always worked late. That if something was urgent, they'd call. The phone buzzed again. With a sigh, I picked it up, already bracing myself for a missed call from Mom about a bill she didn't understand or a problem she needed fixed immediately. Instead, it was a Facebook notification. I don't even remember opening the app. My thumb just moved. Muscle memory. A mindless scroll to distract myself before packing up for the night. And then I saw it. At first, it didn't register as wrong. Just color. Sunlight. Faces. My brain was too tired to catch up right away. Then the image sharpened, and something inside my chest gave a sharp, unexpected lurch. There was my mother. Standing on a white stone balcony, hair loose, skin glowing in a way I hadn't seen since before Dad died. She was smiling, really smiling, not the tight, polite version she wore in family photos. Beside her was my aunt, then my brother, then a man I didn't recognize, all of them leaning casually against the railing as if the world had finally given them permission to rest. Behind them, the ocean stretched endlessly blue. Palm trees framed the edges of the photo. The sky burned orange and gold, like something out of a travel magazine. Hawaii. My stomach dropped. I hadn't even noticed the caption yet. My eyes went to it slowly, like my body already knew what it would say and was trying to protect me. Finally, a vacation with people who truly matter. That was it. No emojis. No tags. No explanation. Just that. People who truly matter. I read it again. Then a third time. My name wasn't there. Not tagged. Not mentioned. Not hidden in a comment. I scrolled up and down, heart thudding harder with every second, searching for myself like maybe I just missed it. I hadn't. It was like I didn't exist. The office felt suddenly too quiet. Too big. The hum of electricity in the walls sounded louder than it had a moment ago. My throat tightened in a way that had nothing to do with crying yet, but everything to do with shock. I tapped the photo and zoomed in. The resort logo was visible on a towel draped over a chair. I recognized it instantly, not because I'd been there, but because I'd looked it up more times than I could count. Late nights, just like this one, telling myself it was unrealistic. A fantasy. Something people like me didn't get. I zoomed in further. The balcony. The ocean angle. The lighting. There was no mistake. This wasn't a weekend getaway. This wasn't a "we found cheap flights" situation. This was expensive, carefully planned, and apparently deliberately exclusive. A heat spread through my chest, slow and heavy. Not rage. Not yet. Just a sinking realization settling into place. They hadn't invited me. They hadn't asked. They hadn't even told me. I glanced at the time again. Midnight. My phone buzzed once more. A comment notification. Someone had replied to Mom's post. I didn't open it. Instead, without fully understanding why, I switched apps. My banking app loaded, face recognition unlocking it in seconds. The familiar list of accounts appeared. Checking, savings, investment, and then, near the bottom, the one I hadn't thought about in months. Emergency family card. My finger hovered. I'd opened it years ago, after Dad passed and everything fell apart at once. Bills, paperwork, panic. It felt responsible at the time. Loving. A safety net. I'll just keep it, I'd said, in case something happens. Something had happened. I tapped it. The screen loaded slowly. Then the charges appeared. And my world tilted. The numbers took a second to make sense. At first, they were just lines on a screen, dates, merchant names, amounts that felt abstract, like something happening in someone else's life. My brain was still lagging behind my eyes, exhaustion dulling the impact. Then the totals loaded. Resort booking, airfare, spa package, ocean excursion, fine dining, one charge after another, all within 4 days, all under my name. I scrolled slowly, my thumb stiff, my breathing shallow. By the time I reached the bottom, the final balance stared back at me in bold, unforgiving font. $11,982.64. For a moment, I didn't move. The office chair creaked slightly as I leaned back, my gaze drifting from my phone to the dark window in front of me. The city outside hadn't changed. Cars still passed. Lights still blinked. Somewhere, people were laughing over drinks, clinking glasses, celebrating nothing at all. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped something essential out of me and left the space echoing. This wasn't a mistake. They hadn't mixed up cards. They hadn't thought it was theirs. They hadn't planned to tell me later. This wasn't an emergency. This wasn't survival. This was a luxury vacation, a celebration, and somehow I'd paid for it. I thought back to the caption, "People who truly matter." A bitter smile tugged at my lips. So that was it. I mattered enough to fund the trip, just not enough to be invited, or acknowledged, or warned. I locked my phone and pressed my palms flat against the desk, grounding myself. My heartbeat thudded loudly in my ears, but something else was happening beneath the shock, something quieter, steadier. Clarity. I'd spent years excusing things like this. Mom forgetting to move money before a deadline. My brother needing just a little help with tuition. The family business needing a bridge loan, just for now. Each time, I'd stepped in without complaint. Each time, I'd told myself this was what family did. That love meant showing up, covering gaps, being reliable. What I'd never considered was how normal it had become for them to reach into my life without asking. I unlocked my phone again and tapped the card details. Authorized users. There they were. Mom. My brother. Still active. My jaw tightened. I stood up, slipped my heels back on, and shut down my computer. The office felt surreal as I walked toward the elevator, like I was leaving one version of my life behind without formally saying goodbye. The ride down was silent. In the lobby, I paused, then pulled my phone back out. I didn't call my mother. I didn't text my brother. I didn't comment on the post. Instead, I called the number on the back of the card. The customer service representative answered in a calm, cheerful voice that felt wildly out of place against the storm in my head. "I need to report unauthorized charges," I said. My voice sounded steady, detached, like I was describing someone else's problem. She asked questions, dates, locations, whether I recognized the merchants. "No," I said each time. And it was true. I recognized the resort, the place, the idea, but not the right. By the time the call ended, the card was frozen. A fraud investigation was opened. Temporary credits were pending. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. Not from fear. From restraint. I drove home on autopilot, the city blurring past my windshield. At red lights, my phone lit up with notifications, likes, comments, strangers praising my mom for living her best life. I didn't open them. I got home, kicked off my shoes, and sat on the edge of my bed without turning on the lights. The apartment felt different now. Smaller. Quieter. Like it had always been waiting for me to finally notice how alone I was in it. At 2:14 a.m., my phone rang. Mom. I stared at her name glowing on the screen. I didn't answer. It rang again. And again. Then a text came through. Why is my card not working? I closed my eyes. There it was. No confusion. No concern. No, are you okay? Just inconvenience. I set the phone face down and lay back, staring at the ceiling until the morning light crept in through the blinds. By the time my alarm went off, I'd already made my decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg for understanding. I wasn't going to explain how deeply this had cut me. I'd done explaining my entire life. When my phone buzzed again, this time with a message from my brother, I read it once. Hey, something weird is going on with the card. Can you fix it? We're trying to book another excursion. Another excursion. I laughed out loud, the sound sharp in the quiet room. No anger now. Just certainty. I typed a single reply. When you get back, you'll hear from my lawyer. I hit send. Then I turned my phone off completely. For the first time in years, I let the silence stay. I didn't turn my phone back on until the next evening. Work swallowed the day whole. Meetings, deadlines, conversations that required me to sound focused and normal when everything inside me felt newly rearranged. I kept waiting for the shock to hit again, for the anger to boil over, for the ache to return. It didn't. What replaced it was something colder, heavier. Resolve. When I finally powered my phone on, it buzzed non-stop in my hand like something alive. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts stacked on texts. Mom. My brother, Evan. My aunt. Even a cousin I barely spoke to. I opened Mom's voicemail first. Her voice was tight, controlled in a way that immediately put me on edge. Alina, call me back. Right now. This is ridiculous. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're embarrassing us. Fix this. No, are you okay? No, can we talk? Just command. I deleted it. The next voicemail was Evan's. He sounded annoyed more than anything else. Hey, the card got declined at the hotel. The front desk is asking questions. Mom's really upset. Can you just handle this when you get a chance? Handle this. Like it was a software glitch. Like I was IT support for their lives. I didn't respond. The texts were worse. Mom, you should have talked to me before doing something this extreme. Mom, families don't treat each other like criminals. Mom, I raised you better than this. There it was. The guilt script. I set the phone down, took a deep breath, and made dinner. Something simple. Something grounding. I ate slowly, deliberately, like I was reclaiming time that had never truly been mine. 2 hours later, there was a knock at my door. I didn't need to look through the peephole to know who it was. Alina, Mom called, knocking again. I know you're home. I stayed seated on the couch, my hands folded in my lap. She knocked harder. This is not how adults solve problems, she said through the door. We can talk like a family. I almost laughed. We had talked like a family for years. That's how they'd learned exactly how far they could push without consequences. I didn't open the door. Eventually, her voice changed. Softer. Wounded. I don't understand why you're doing this to us, she said. After everything we've been through. There it was again. Us. I waited until her footsteps faded down the hallway before I stood. That night, I emailed a lawyer. The meeting was the next morning. She listened without interrupting, her expression neutral as I laid out the timeline, the card, the charges, the post, the caption. I slid my phone across the desk so she could see the screenshot. Her mouth tightened slightly. Unauthorized use, she said. Clear cut. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not validation exactly, but relief. When I left her office, my phone buzzed again. Evan this time. Mom's freaking out. She says you're blowing this out of proportion. I typed back before I could second-guess myself. I'm responding proportionately. You just aren't used to that. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then another message came through. You know Mom didn't mean it like that. I stared at the screen. Then why didn't she include me? I typed. No response. That silence answered more than words ever could. 2 days passed. The vacation posts vanished from Mom's profile. The caption changed. No apology. Just a row of flower emojis, as if aesthetics could erase intent. It didn't. By the 3rd day, their tone shifted. Mom's texts grew longer. More emotional. I can't believe my own daughter would threaten legal action. Do you know what people will think? This is tearing the family apart. That one almost made me angry. Because the family hadn't started breaking when I froze the card. It had cracked every time they took without asking and assumed I'd stay quiet. The lawyer filed the dispute formally. A civil claim followed. Papers were served. I wasn't there when they received them, but I imagined it clearly. The confusion, the outrage, the sudden realization that I wasn't playing my usual role. That night, Evan showed up. He didn't knock. He leaned against my doorframe, arms crossed, eyes tired. You didn't have to go this far, he said. I met his gaze calmly. I went exactly far enough. He shook his head. You always do this. You make things difficult. Something in me hardened. No, I said. I make things inconvenient. He scoffed. Same thing. No, I repeated. Difficult is what you put me through. This is just the cost. He didn't have a comeback for that. When he left, I sat alone in the quiet apartment and felt something unfamiliar settle over me. Power. Not the loud kind. Not the vindictive kind. The kind that comes from finally choosing yourself. And I knew, deep down, that this wasn't over yet. Because families like mine didn't let go easily. The paperwork arrived on a Thursday morning. I hadn't been expecting it. Not really. In my mind, the lawsuit existed in a sealed-off mental drawer, something my lawyer handled while I focused on keeping my life moving forward. I told myself I'd already faced the worst of it. I was wrong. The envelope was plain, no return address, just my name printed neatly on the front. I opened it standing at my kitchen counter, still in pajamas, coffee going cold beside me. Inside were copies of bank statements. Not my personal ones. The family business. I frowned, flipping through the pages. Dates jumped out first. Then amounts. Transfers that didn't match what I remembered. Withdrawals that lined up uncomfortably well with moments I'd been asked for temporary help. I sat down slowly. Years ago, when Dad died, Mom had insisted I become a silent partner in the business. Just for safety, she'd said. So we're protected if anything happens. I'd invested money. Not a fortune, but enough to matter. Enough to feel proud of contributing to something that was supposed to support all of us. According to these documents, that investment no longer existed. My name was gone. I flipped faster now, pulse quickening. Ownership records. Internal summaries. My stake had been quietly reassigned, shifted into an account under Mom's control less than 6 months after I'd signed on. No notification. No discussion. Just erased. My phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, Alina. This is Grace. I used to work for your family's company. I think we should talk. My stomach tightened. We met that afternoon at a small cafe halfway between my office and my apartment. Grace looked nervous, eyes darting toward the door every few seconds like she expected someone to walk in and catch us. She didn't waste time. She slid a flash drive across the table. I shouldn't be doing this, she said quietly. But I couldn't stay silent anymore. I didn't touch it yet. What is it? I asked. Emails. Accounting records. Notes your mom and Evan thought were private. She swallowed. They've been moving money around for years. Not just yours. Something inside me went very still. Grace leaned closer. They always said you were fine with it. That you understood. That you'd forgive them. I exhaled slowly. There it was again. The role. The understanding one. The flexible one. The one who wouldn't make noise. At home that night, I plugged the flash drive into my laptop and sat there for hours, scrolling through proof I hadn't known I was looking for but somehow wasn't surprised to find. Emails referencing me by name. Alina won't push back. She always comes around. She has savings. We'll fix it later. There was even one thread discussing the Hawaii trip. She doesn't need to know ahead of time. She'll get over it. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling, not with rage, but with something sharper. Recognition. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't carelessness. It was a system. I forwarded everything to my lawyer before I could talk myself out of it. She called me less than an hour later. This changes things, she said. How? I asked. This isn't just about unauthorized charges anymore. This is financial fraud. Intentional misrepresentation. I closed my eyes. The next steps moved quickly. A second suit was filed. This one larger. Louder. My name attached to claims I never thought I'd have to make against my own family. The amount was staggering. Just under $180,000. That was when the tone changed again. Dad called for the first time since everything began. I let it go to voicemail. His voice was strained, edges fraying. You're taking this too far, he said. We already paid you back. What more do you want? I listened once. Then I deleted it. Because for the first time, I knew the answer. I didn't want money. I wanted out. They tried to settle. First quietly. Then urgently. 20,000. 40,000. I said no. 3 days before the hearing, another envelope arrived. This one was thicker. A certified check. The full amount. No apology. No letter. No attempt at explanation. Just payment. Legally, it was over. Emotionally, it wasn't even close. The silence that followed felt heavier than all the noise before it. No calls. No texts. No attempts at reconciliation. Just absence. And in that absence, I saw the truth clearly for the first time. They didn't miss me. They missed access. The quiet didn't arrive all at once. At first, it came in fragments, hours without notifications, mornings without dread curling in my stomach, evenings where my phone stayed face down and nothing happened. No emergencies. No last-minute favors disguised as family needs. Just space. It felt unnatural. For years, my life had existed in a constant low-grade urgency. Someone always needed something. A bill. A decision. A solution. I had trained myself to be available, responsive, useful. When that stopped, my body didn't know what to do with itself. I woke up one Saturday morning expecting my phone to buzz. It didn't. I lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling, listening to my own breathing. It felt indulgent, almost wrong. By the following week, the retaliation started. Not loud, not confrontational, administrative. An automated email from the family business landed in my inbox at 9:03 a.m. Subject: Access update. My login credentials had been revoked. Accounting software, shared drives, internal calendars, gone. No explanation. No courtesy message. Just a quiet severing. I read it twice, then closed the tab. An hour later, another notification followed. The investment account I'd once been told was informal had been reclassified. The remaining balance, $11,500, was marked as a personal contribution, not a loan. No repayment scheduled. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. They couldn't argue with me anymore. They couldn't guilt me into silence. So they did the only thing left. They tried to take something back. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. She replied with one sentence. They're making this worse for themselves. That same afternoon, an old coworker from the family business messaged me. Hey, I heard you're not involved anymore. Can we talk? We met at a park near my apartment. He looked nervous, hands shoved deep into his jacket pockets. They're scared, he said without preamble. Not of you. Of exposure. He hesitated, then added, there are things you should probably know. He pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots. Internal messages. Accounting notes. A casual conversation thread that made my stomach twist. Alina always forgives. She hates conflict. She won't blow this up. I stared at the screen, feeling something settle deep in my chest. Not sadness. Certainty. This was never about love. It was about convenience. That night, I walked through my apartment and started packing. Not in a rush. Not angrily. Deliberately. I moved closer to work. Downsized. Chose a place with windows that faced east so I could see the morning light instead of racing the sunrise in traffic. I stopped picking up extra shifts. Not because I couldn't handle them, but because I no longer needed to outrun guilt. My mother finally emailed. The subject line read, "We love you." The body was a list. Reasons. Explanations. Justifications. Stress had made them careless. They never meant to hurt me. They were grateful. They were family. I didn't reply. Evan sent one last message. We're still lucky to have each other. Lucky. The word sat wrong. Because luck implies chance. Accident. Randomness. What happened wasn't accidental. It was designed. Weeks passed. The lawsuit's ripple effects began showing up in places I hadn't expected. Vendors delayed contracts. Banks asked questions. Clients hesitated. The business survived, but barely. And I wasn't there to stabilize it anymore. That realization didn't bring me satisfaction. It brought me peace. I took a weekend trip alone for the first time in years. Nothing extravagant. Just a quiet city by the water, cold air, space to think. Standing near the shore, wrapped in a jacket I'd chosen without worrying about anyone else's needs, I felt something tighten in my throat. I wasn't grieving the loss of my family. I was grieving the illusion of them. The belief that endurance was love, that loyalty meant self-erasure, that being needed was the same as being valued. I hadn't been hard to love. I'd been easy to use. And the moment I stopped allowing it, everything else fell away. When I returned home, my phone stayed silent. No apologies, no repair attempts, no reaching out without an agenda. That told me everything. The punishment was never the lawsuit. It was the boundary. And boundaries, I'd learned, feel cruel only to people who benefited from you having none. The last message didn't come with drama. No anger, no guilt, no attempt to rewrite the story. It arrived months later as an automated notification from the family business, confirming the closure of an account that had once carried my name. No explanation, no acknowledgement, just a sterile line of text marking the end of something that had quietly died a long time ago. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then closed my laptop. And that was it. No collapse, no tears, no urge to respond. I'd imagined this moment would feel heavier, that some final severing would hurt in a way everything else hadn't. But instead, it felt clean, like stepping out of a room that had been slowly suffocating me without my realizing it. Life didn't transform overnight. It softened. Mornings became quieter. I stopped waking up with that reflexive tension in my chest, the one that had trained itself to expect bad news before my feet even touched the floor. I made coffee without rushing. I chose clothes without worrying about whether I'd need to run an emergency errand after work. At the office, people started commenting that I looked rested. I was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. I stopped apologizing for needing space, stopped explaining why I couldn't help, stopped feeling like every no required a justification. The absence of my family didn't echo the way I'd been warned it would. It clarified. Relatives reached out occasionally, carefully worded messages, neutral concern, invitations framed as peace offerings. Families make mistakes. Your mother misses you. You've always been the strong one. Strong. I used to hear that word and feel proud. Now I understood what they really meant. Strong meant silent. Strong meant absorbent. Strong meant easy to lean on without asking permission. I didn't reply. One afternoon, months later, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Not of them. Of me. Me at 23, smiling nervously at a job interview I'd convinced myself I wasn't qualified for. Me at 26, exhausted but hopeful, signing paperwork I barely read because I trusted the people across the table. Me at 30, standing in my apartment after another long shift, telling myself things would slow down soon. I wanted to reach through time and tell her something. Not to work less. Not to love less. Just this. Love doesn't require disappearance. I thought about Hawaii sometimes. Not the place, the idea. The way that photo had frozen everything into focus. How a single sentence, typed casually and shared publicly, had stripped away years of excuses I'd made on their behalf. People who truly matter. They'd been honest. I just hadn't wanted to hear it. And maybe that was the real gift. Because clarity hurts once. Confusion hurts forever. I took another trip that fall. Alone again. Somewhere quiet, where the days moved slowly and nothing demanded anything of me. I read books in cafes. Walked without a destination. Sat by windows watching weather roll in without feeling the need to be productive. I paid for it myself. Every dollar felt clean. One night, sitting in a small restaurant by the water, I caught my reflection in the darkened window. I looked different. Not happier. Lighter. I realized then that I hadn't lost my family when I stopped answering. I'd lost the role they'd assigned me. The fixer. The fund. The fallback. And without that role, there was nothing left for them to take. The world didn't punish me for choosing myself. It expanded. Opportunities I'd postponed resurfaced. Friendships deepened when I finally had energy to invest in people who gave back. Even my work felt different, not like a race, but a choice. Sometimes, I wondered if they'd ever understand. Then I stopped wondering. Understanding was never required for boundaries to work. Only respect. And if respect only appeared when money was involved, it wasn't respect at all. The last time I thought about my mother's post, it didn't sting. It felt distant, almost neutral. Like remembering a storm you survived from a place of safety. I'd been hustling for my family for so long that I forgot what it felt like to build a life that didn't require constant defense. That night in the office, the buzzing lights, the empty coffee cup, the moment my phone changed everything, hadn't broken me. It had freed me. Because the truth was simple, even if it took years to accept. I wasn't hard to love. I was just surrounded by people who loved what I provided more than who I was. And once I stopped providing, I finally mattered to myself.